Hello, hello, world. Welcome to the Friday AI with Phil show. Phil, you're up here. I'm pointing to you properly. Um, we're here in July, and I want to say happy Disability Pride Month. So, to all our friends with physical, visible, and invisible disabilities, giving you love this month of July. And also, yesterday was AI Appreciation Day. So, for those of us on the call who are deeply entrenched in AI, yesterday was our day to celebrate. So, my name is Nichol Goldstein. I am Progress's community manager, and I try to keep everything fun and happy while we're here together with also my friends. Come on,
So
Phil. Cue,
I'm
Phil.
on cue. I'm on cue. I'm on cue.
Yeah.
My name is Phil Miller. I am a product marketing director and AI strategist for Progress. I have the great pleasure of speaking to customers, partners, prospects, people in the field to discuss all things AI, how we can leverage these tools both effectively and in a governed and scaled out kind of manner, especially important for some of our enterprise customers. I also have the pleasure of working with
Hinal. Hi, guys. My name is Hinal. I work in product marketing with Phil here at Progress, and I dabble in AI here and there, mostly learning from Phil and what he's learned from the field. So that's great to hear. And I work with the lovely Nichol as well. So today we also have a guest on our show, and I'm going to let Parvinder introduce yourself now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Parvinder Singh. I'm a partner solutions architect with AWS. Thank you for having me on the show today. I work with ISVs like Progress on the build, market, scale side of things. Day to day, I sit right on the intersection between the cutting edge AI technology and the real enterprise adoption. So happy to be here and happy to work with you guys today. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to join us, honestly. So to kick off the conversation, we had a launch recently with AI that was a little bit bumpy. So does anyone want to talk about the recent release?
the elephant in the room that would
The
be
elephant in
Facebook
the room.
release.
Yes.
Bless them. So Anthropic released their latest kind of models. There is a plural there. One of them is publicly available. That's Fable, and then you have the Mythos went from preview to more of a preview. Like more people can access it, but not everybody still. But they built it up so much that the US government kind of got a little bit nervous. And even one of their investors got a little bit nervous and decided to kind of they had to kind of pull the model from public access. So they did that for I can't remember how many days it was now, and then relaunched it again. So now we've all been playing with Fable. We've all been having a good time, and in amongst all of that was ChatGPT's "Hold My Beer" moment, because then they went, "Hey, we're not going to release one model. We're going to release 3 brand new models under the kind of 5.6 moniker. So Sol, Terra, and Luna, which for those that don't know is the actual name of the moon, and a classic name for Earth and the sun. And it's been fun. I've been playing around with it. I've been seeing what's I've been seeing what's behind you. I'm hoping they're not real skeletons behind her, but
They are of my enemies.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Right, that's the previous models with it. They're just sat there. Just 4.8 is not good enough. But yeah, so been playing around with them. I've been having some wow moments. So personally, I had to go to AI for Good, and we'll talk about that later. But I had to create a video. From an hour-long video, I needed a 3-minute clip to go onto the stand. And I didn't have a lot of time. When I say I didn't have a lot of time, it's the working day before I left, right? So 0 time to do this. I was staring down the barrel of like editing all day and trying to play around with like different clips that I'd also been provided and things like that. And I just thought, do you know what? It's a one shot. Let's see if it will do a job. Now I've got my Fable or Claude grounded with a load of other information that it pulls in using like another tool. But within 25-ish minutes, it edited this video down to 3. Not only edited the video down to 3, but it also added branding elements. So when it was on the booth, people could read the narrative story of the video. And so you didn't need to be there. It was like a standalone thing. There were 3 different little bits I didn't like. So again, I said, could you fix these? And it went, sure. And it just replaced words I was looking for, changed an end slide, and so on and so forth. But that was a wow moment for me, because I've done video editing before in the past. And when I say in the past, I mean like on film video editing, as well as software video editing. And even software video editing would take me, like I say, a good 2 hours, 2 solid hours of like clipping and moving around and doing all of that. And I'm not very good at it because I don't practice it enough. So it would be choppy and stuff like this. This created a very smooth, very polished, branded video. And I was just, I was stunned, really. And I was sharing.
I had something very similar happen. Yeah, like.
Yeah, go for it.
So I also had to create a video. Yeah. So the video I had to create, I had to create a kitten image of Roy Ellis, who works for Progress, and I used AI for it, and everyone uses AI for these pictures. But AI gave me a gorgeous rendition, but his tongue came out of his chin, and I was like, AI, you've done a fantastic job. Can you actually put his tongue in his mouth? And the next iteration was great, but it took very little time. But Phil, we've talked before about there's a different model for a different thing, right? That there's certain models that have strengths and weaknesses. So there might be models that are super good at what you're talking about, and models that like Nano Banana or something. Parvinder, do you have any thoughts on what model is right for what kind of activity?
Yeah, let me take a stab at it. But Phil has put, I think, 3 months worth of data in about 5 minutes now. So I have to keep a catch up which one was released, which one was not. So there would be models. So looking at the intersection, as I said, I worked with ISVs day in, day out. There will always be models which will leapfrog the other model. That's what we have seen. There's distillation which is happening with models, like smaller models being trained on the bigger models, and the smaller models are pretty good, as good as the bigger models. Now, as we see at the inception of models and the LLMs, it's also becoming by the use case, and not all use cases will have Fable or Mythos. Some can have Sonnet, like the very smaller ones as well. So it's getting to an abstraction now. If you are a multi-orchestration level, one agent could be using a bigger model, the other one smaller model. So it's all becoming on the orchestration layer now. And again, it depends on. So I love saying it depends, because in the architecture world, it depends is a very, very beautiful word, where it depends on how you do it. So maybe you have an orchestration LLM or an agent which wants to do the meat of the work. Mythos, Fable, by all means. But if you only have an agent which just provides you which agent it's going to and a very smaller set of things, a smaller LLM will do. So to your point, yes, they are coming in pretty quick, pretty fast. Changes are coming in so fast that even the enterprises are getting, okay, do I need it? Do I not? It's a good thing, because now the options which are getting, which was not there a year ago, it's giving that option now, again, tying back to Phil on the Sol story. We would have to streamline and secure it in a way. Human in the loop, I don't envision it going away soon. We should have it, because that's one approval or disapproval on what models thinking is good or not. Inherently, models, they're people pleasers. They will say, yes, this is the best. But human in the middle, with security, with compaction of what you're putting in, the delegation of duties by the security. So those all should be looked at.
Yeah, it was interesting because outside of like a creative task like video, I was also looking at, okay, I've got limited access to Fable because they might get rid of it at some point. So what I was doing was, okay, let's take the skills that I've already built, get Fable to look at the skills and actually pass down its higher intelligence, right, to the lower models. So you would have a Fable level of orchestration instructions built into your skills that you could then operate at the lower model. So if it disappeared, it would still have this level of instruction and then use its capabilities to execute on the task, which, to your point, is often because it will often automatically fall back if it's not needed, right?
Exactly.
So Fable, Soul, they will all do this. They should get better at kind of telling people when, because that would also help people's understanding of like when and where to use these models. But you could start off at the Fable level and end up at the Sonnet level or the Opus level, dependent on what Fable thought was the most appropriate use of that. Now, like I say, they haven't been great at communicating that. There's been some pushback from people where they're like, no, but I want Fable to do everything. It's like, you don't need Fable to do everything because those
I want to
tasks.
add to it. Yeah, I think the gap between AI curious and AI expert is getting overlapped. I think again the testing and how you do it, and it's a pretty good segue. You mentioned skills. I always tell all the ISVs I work with, you're putting skills, your agents, good, but try and start with eval first, like your test-driven approach. Now it's eval-driven approach. So put evals first, evaluation, so that it will give you a benchmark. That's where security incidents or incidents where something it can't be or shouldn't be doing it, or something which is to be done, those are benchmarked. So that give you an added layer of, okay, I know what my skill or an agent is supposed to do and I have validated it. So I would highly encourage, yeah, start with eval first, so that it gives you a benchmark, and that gives some sense of security as well, in terms of adoption, because you can showcase, like, you wanted it to do this, it's exactly doing this. Now next iteration, let's do it again, rather than, so again, AI curious and AI expert, I think we have to bridge that gap as and when it's needed, not just do a wipe code and put it across and then think like, oh, what did I do? So
Yeah. I like that sort of AI curious, AI expert kind of framing on it, because I think and maybe we can come on to this topic, right, with going to AI for good, right? Just so I get it up front, I thought it was a great event, right? I thought that there was a lot of innovation there, both in actually majorly in robotics. So that's going to be, you know, a bigger and bigger thing. Seeing what these robots were capable of doing. Funny story. I will do one funny story, which was one of my colleagues. He was there and he was going around and he was taking some pictures and stuff like that. And he's looking around on all the booths, and they have different sections. And one was the booth from China. So they had like US, China, and Europe, and all sorts of places. And he was there, and he was at this Chinese booth looking at the robotics, and he was flabbergasted because he's seen all these like hyper realistic robots, and he saw this one just stood there on stage, and it was amazing. And he went to grab his phone and he went to take this picture, and then she went, "Please, could you move those boxes out of the way? We're just going to start the thing." And I was like, "Dude, you took your phone out? What the hell?" So it was quite funny, but it was it. I think it's an example again, like you see these things doing it, so you assume, oh, this hyper realistic thing must be a robot, like, which kind of blew my mind at the same time, right? But I think a lot of people that are going to these events, a significant portion of the audience, who aren't technical, but they're business focused, and so they're the ones like who are looking at budgeting these exercises for this thing. So they're trying to understand, just at a cursory level, trying to understand like what AI does, and why additional tools might be needed in the ecosystem. But there's a big skill gap between.
I know, and I think
people.
not sure if that was also brought up. I think Mistral, and I was reading it recently. they released one of their models, and I'm forgetting. I think it's called Robostrol, if I'm not wrong. And what it does, physical AI, tying it back, it
Yeah.
steers robots through the buildings and using RGB, no LiDAR. It's RGB, and then how it can do it for the buildings the robot has not seen before. So to your point, the advancement is coming fast, pretty fast. Now again, it's the physical AI, the AI we have. There is an overlap coming, and it's also coming pretty soon.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, you're right, the way it's going, but we have to showcase even to the people as well, like
Yeah.
what's coming, why we should do it.
Yeah. Well, I love your eval approach, right? Because I think ultimately that also speaks to one of the other issues that I see. So you have this enablement um, disconnect between those who are in the field and those who are out of the field.
Hmm.
But I also think you have this disconnect of, because of that, the natural inclination for the technical person is to lead with the what, to lead with
Exactly.
the components, to lead with the features, the functions. But if you are starting off an eval function, then the outcome becomes the deliverable. It becomes the
Exactly.
conversation. I think that makes it easier for people to have these AI conversations because they're now going, oh, this is what this is capable of delivering rather than the capability itself.
That
Um,
is very true. So I'll give you an example. I was just doing for my personal, I was doing a POC, and then again, not to be biased, was doing it on AWS. And I was writing evals, and I gave a benchmark to my LLM, like it was a multi-agent orchestration, and I ran evals, like this is how it's supposed to be. It found a human error, like I, by mistake, did a wrong characterization of an image to a description. It took me as in 2 hours, and why, but I asked the agent again, why my percentage is off. And not even a minute, like I think there is a wrong description and the characterization. So I'm saying, yes, LLM can go haywire if not controlled, but they can also be pretty good, as a, I would say, take them as something as your colleague and have
yeah,
work faster. It is coming, no doubt, but again, how you use it and how you make sure that, so I'm not saying do more work with less time. It is more work with all the resources you have, but you don't feel like you're doing more work. Make it that way. So I think that's very important with writing the skills and making sure your benchmarks are pretty solid, so that whatever you're doing on top of it, it does not feel like something you're gaining tech debt out of it rather
yeah,
than actually delivering something.
Now, we talked about the, AI curious, kind of person. Phil, you've mentioned before that like you don't necessarily have to understand how the light switch works. You just need to understand that now that I have electricity, I can do this. Is there any sort of risk that we should be paying attention to that these people who don't understand how this works, that they're blowing all our light bulbs out?
yeah. Well, look, there's inherent risk in AI, right? It is for it's you're rolling the dice every time you ask it a question. Now these dice are weighted and they're going to give you the result most of the time that you want, right? But there's drift and there's random stochastic nature within these. Now that compounds over a long kind of multi-agentic workflow, right? Because then you have lots of agents making lots of decisions. Then it compounds further if you add scale and so on and so forth, because now you have lots of people asking lots of different questions. And the vast majority of people are used to working with deterministic software. So, like, if I ask my software to do something, I click on a button, it's going to open up my document, right? If I ask it a spell check, it's going to go through and it's going to use actually a symbolic AI to do a deterministic view over your spelling, right? With AI, there's an element of this stochastic random nature, right? Which is just one of the risks, right? Because then you have, okay, How do these work with other software? What actions are you allowing the AI to take, right? What level of security are you giving? And because I talk about it like we consider, or certainly I consider AI just as another employee. So I'm not going to give it the master key to my whole suite of security tools because I'm going to treat it as an employee. It's going to have its own role-based access based on the use case that it's doing, based on the actions that I need it to take, so on and so forth. So yes, there is inherent risk with people who are setting up the architecture to do this at scale. But those same people aren't the people that you employ to do this. You still have that human in the loop, the human expertise that understands your security posture, the security of this particular use case and its data requires in order for it to be successful, because you've been able to articulate what it is you want to do. And so when I say you don't need to understand it, that business person, no, they don't. They should be able to walk up to the system, say, hey, I want a report of last week's sales, say, for instance. I want it by team. Who was the best salesperson that week? What was the most popular selling product? Have we got any like delivery issues that I need to deal with? So on and so forth. And just give them a dashboard view, right? They don't have to necessarily understand how the plumbing works underneath it. We still have electrical engineers who build massive, great big electrical installations, right, to support huge, great big products, huge, great big projects, sorry, like nuclear and solar installation. There's traveling power to halfway across the country, right? But that same person who switches on that electricity, he doesn't need to be an electrical engineer. What he needs to understand is what you can achieve with AI today reasonably, with some development effort still, right? It's not going to do it out of the box, right? Because you need that control. You still need that deterministic lens over your data that we actually I spoke to lots of people about this week at AI for Good, right? And it's getting people to understand that and what you can do, rather than, hey, that deterministic lens, here's how everything works within that stack, because they don't need to know. They have people in their organization, really smart, intelligent people who design the systems, you know, Parvinder and the guys at AWS, and they've got partners in the space and so on and so forth, right, that can help them do that bit. But what they need to get their head around is, how can I create this new type of system where I can use the random stochastic but pattern recognition machine that we have over here with a deterministic control system that goes alongside it, so that you create deterministic results but are able to scale those because of the agency or I actually call it independence, not agency, because that's human. The independent intelligence that you have within the system that helps you then create these actions faster.
Actually, it's a good point. To me, if I look at it, similar analogy, it's how previously the cloud migration started happening. I say it's similar way, but at a very breakneck fast speed.
Yeah.
Because previously, when the data center migrations used to happen similar way, the underlying infrastructure layer, people were not that look, because the business or the application layer is where actually the results used to matter. When you have the results back, I see the layer on the infrastructure is still the same. It's changing in a way that you have now foundational models, your vector stores are living there, your LLMs or the inference endpoint. Now that's pretty much invisible, like how we used to have the data center migration. It still needs work. It still needs that pipeline has to work properly. But the business outcome is where the nuances started coming in. And yes, if it's not done properly, AI can make mistakes. So that's where, to Phil's point, the trust mechanisms is something which we inherently are trying to have built in now. Observability, guardrails, human in the loop, all these, whenever we are working with partners who are deploying it in AI, yes, faster, but make sure that fast is on the guardrails and the human in the loop, or the inferences do not go haywire. So again, Sol incident depicted that, but we should be building AI with a trust mechanism first, again, going back, that make sure the trust is there. Then everything becomes invisible. Like the user will not know inherently what's the infra layer is doing.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that we talk about scalability and, corporations, the way that they're, integrating this into their entire business. But that means that it's not just the engineers who are security minded. It's not just those people who are leveraging AI every day. It's Jane from accounting. It's Nicole, the community manager. It's, the person who's it's not the person who's very technology savvy who's kind of diving into these things. And, do you see any inherent risk in that rollout of AI deeper into the organization beyond the technologists?
The 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 risks are the same risks, but maybe amplified slightly, right? And when I say slightly at the moment, I'm maybe underselling some applications like what we've seen Sol delete, I can't remember, it was a database or something it did.
It was
Just
3
out.
virtual machines. Yeah.
There you go. Her now definitely reading that, because I think you maybe sent it to me as well. But
Yeah.
what is interesting is this that same security person has also been talking about USB drives, has also been talking about the dangers of leaving your laptop unlocked, using public hotspots, and so on and so forth. Because security isn't the responsibility of the one, right? Collectively in the organization, we all have a responsibility towards the security angle. So if you want to play outside of the scope of your policies, you shouldn't be playing on your work machine. You should have a completely separate machine at home, right? If you want to push for a new tool, then you don't just install it. You go and speak to IT and security and say, hey, look, there's this new thing. I want to install this, right? So you have, again, it's all about enablement. It's all about kind of making people understand. You need to make people understand fundamentally what AI affords them to do, and then also then say, hey, here's your guardrails, your human guardrails that I want you to put in place to prevent you from going outside of our policies, or endangering the company or the customers, or whatever, right? But again, that comes down to enablement. It comes down to really getting people to understand like this change, right? We're still seeing people use an agentic search in a Google-like fashion, right? We see it every day, like keyword searches on a LLM, and I'm like, well, I mean, the LLM is going to like give you something, but it's probably nowhere near where you want it to be. But again, that comes down to us and our enablement partners in the organization, right? And it's the same when we're talking to our customers and saying, hey, look, I know you've seen this on TV. You've seen a robot at AI for good, right? But no, it's probably not going to build your car today, right? Or repair your car today. It may do in 5 years' time, right?
Lazy.
It,
So
it
lazy.
may be changing your wheels, sorting out your oil, and doing all sorts of things, right? In 5 years' time. But it's not doing that today.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
I
we
think
can go to an island and retire. So,
I think
but
that's
adding
important.
to that point, just wanted to add one more point. The older, I shouldn't say the older way, the previous way we used to have before the AI influx, AI, or the question, it was more asking questions. Now AI is also answering and thinking and giving you answers on that subtlety of what AI thinks. Now, going back to Phil's point again, guardrails, least security posture, which has not changed. So inherently, the security postures are exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's the output of quickly deploying it without thinking the same security postures is something getting a little bit ahead in time. So give the agent or LLM or an agent the least amount of security, put that in the guardrails. Give users the propagation of security, how the security goes. If I am an analyst, I shouldn't be going and looking at managers' reports. That propagation is the key. AI can't do it. So just to add to it, it's still the same. It's coming in faster. Now the releases are pretty fast.
Yeah.
Well, I think that in some organizations there's this real excitement around AI, so that they expect Jane from accounting to be doing something with AI. But I also think that there's a lack of enablement, because if you're not that technologist who's technology minded, you might say, well, then what am I supposed to do? Like, and what do I do it with? And so I feel like in the industry there's a lot of relying on self-service or that curiosity, but the people who aren't in a state of curiosity are being asked to level up and be proficient without a lot of support.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with that, and at the same time I'm going to push back on that, right? Okay.
You wouldn't be
So the
Phil if you
reason
didn't.
the
Did we
reason
expect
I,
any less?
look, come on, look. The reason I agree with it is because, yes, as we've admitted, we all have to do a better job of enabling people to understand these tools, right? But I can only lead the horse to water, right? And AI is a really good example of that, because I lead them to the water, and then I say, right, now I've told you all of that, go and have a swim, right? And they go, oh, I don't know how to swim. And then I say, okay, cool. Well, we know how to solve that problem, don't we? Yeah, is there a book that can teach me on how I could swim? And it's like, no, there is no book. You have to eventually start embracing these things and using these things and making your mistakes, basically learning like how to use these tools, right? Because and taking an active, people take career development courses, they take management courses, they take all of these things. There are certain elements of jobs where people don't actually take courses on, right? I think AI at the moment is probably one of them, where they don't go and try these things in practical implementations and so on and so forth, and then go, but I don't understand it. It's like, well, yeah, because you haven't used half the tools available to you, right? Including using the AI themselves to teach them how to use AI, right? Just ask the question. I've spoken to this with Hinal a lot, right? If I get stuck, my first thought isn't immediately to go to someone else to kind of fix it. It's kind of to go, hey, AI, you said I should do this, but I don't know how to do that. Could you help me walk me through this? And I mean, that's literally, and we've got a comment in here, and I do think it kind of speaks to this a little bit, which is, don't forget, you can also propagate your own intelligence to the models. This helps a lot, getting better, predictable, deterministic results at a lower price. Absolutely, Casimir. That is essentially what the tool that I use. Like I say, I use Obsidian to act as my second brain, right? So every chat
You
that I
stole
have,
my thunder. I had an example on Obsidian, so I had to think something else.
but so this is the thing. So it was months ago. I was trying to transition from ChatGPT and then to use Claude at the same time. And so I thought, hey, I think this might work. AI validated that thing, but it then also taught me how to build that thing. And so then I iterated on top of that. Then Kapathy came out with the Wiki LLM. And so I was like, oh, cool. That kind of validates that idea. Let's see if it improves that idea. And the AI was like, actually, Phil, you've done a good job here. I'd say it's done a good job, right? And you're already doing half of what's in here. The other half I can actually automate for you. Do you want me to do that? And I was like, yeah, awesome, right? And so now to that own intelligence thing, every week it compiles the conversations that I've had, the tasks that I've given it into this. And I now have the same thing with chat and their co-work feature, right? So that again does the same ingestion and it creates a graph of it, and I can do SQL views over it, and I can do all sorts of weird and wonderful ways of searching for the information inside there. But every time I use it now, I am using it in conjunction with the LLM. So I say, hey, load, we call it my vault, load my vault. Now, could you create me some on-brand videos that we did the other day? And because it has all the information about my brand guidelines, my policies, my font, my logo, so on and so forth, I trust it to develop these branded assets. And then when I look at it, because I always look at it, check it, I'm always surprised, but I'm more pleasantly surprised because it's like, oh, okay, this has got this right, pass it downstream. Hinal, I know you use it a lot.
Yeah. I implemented it after Phil actually told me about it, because I was also using it solely on my knowledge only, and then also compiling all my knowledge from different assets, different places that we have so much stored in. It really helped ground it. I think one of the other things that, going back to Phil's point about learning from AI itself, initially what I started doing was asking for use cases within my own role in my team. So I would ask it, where in my workflow would you see AI helping me extremely productively, streamlining my entire workflow? And so it placed AI in those positions within that workflow and actually gave me creative ideas on how to use it, obviously within those guardrails and where we could use it. And I built my own basically little ecosystem around what my function is and what my deliverables are and what I wanted to see as an outcome. And so that AI helped me build itself. Obviously, we went a lot back and forth around what I wanted the outcome to be, what I wanted to give it permission to do and not to do, where I wanted to use AI, and where I wanted to have the human lens of me looking over that part of the workflow itself. So I think it really does help if you just use AI, especially with all these models coming out with new releases. Like we talked about ChatGPT, Anthropic, it's always coming out with better and newer models, and knowing which ones to use where is very crucial, especially when you have a workflow that it has access to different files, documents, all of that. We want to be cautious. And so I think using AI itself to ask those questions and answer them is a great starting point, right? Obviously, you want to check with your colleagues. Like I talk to Phil all the time about how I use AI and, how we both can use it better within our roles. And for us, fortunately, we're both trying to do the same thing. So it helps having another AI buddy in the team. So that is a great place to start. But I agree that having that grounded intelligence has made our outputs so much more reliable. And it's giving us a better starting point than doing it just from scratch. Obviously, we have to review, like Phil said, have a human lens over it. But it's propelled us so much more in the outcomes that we want to achieve.
Yeah.
I'll add to it, minus the Obsidian example.
Phil stole it.
Yeah, Phil stole it. So at AWS, again, forefront of what the AI we are doing. Even internally, it's not different. And at least internally, the vision is, don't take it as AI taking your jobs, but take AI as your assistant, which is very true. So if I'm there, I won't don't lead by saying use AI, but lead by saying, remember the thing we used to hate, it can do it faster. Hate as in we have so many internal docs to create, so many reports to create, so many things. Even in architecture, while we're doing it, like I had to go, okay, what's the service? Am I right here? I have to recheck it again. It can provide those things pretty robustly. And again, I would say, don't look at the before and after of the work we used to do. At least for me, I have so many MCPs. When MCPs came in, like, do I need that many? Now I think, yeah, I think I need one more. So I have, so that actually helps in at least if we are resistant, again, I go back when there was a cloud infrastructure changing coming in. It's a similar thing which is happening now, but at a faster pace. So, and we should make failure safe. Like, people don't use because they are afraid of, okay, what might be the outcome? Am I doing it correctly? Or should I be even doing it if I break something? To remove the risk, again, going back to security, let them envision it how they envision it.
Yeah, and I think that cost per failure has gone down as well. Right?
Exactly.
So, and I think as organizations, you need to kind of acknowledge this. This isn't an 18-month project that didn't work out. This was a 8-day experiment that, hey, it didn't work out, but we learned this, right, for the next experiment. And so that cost per failure, as much as the cost per defensible outcome that I talk about, right, that cost per failure is also really important to acknowledge, so that people aren't scared of trying and playing and experimenting with these tools, right? Going back to the whole Obsidian thing, that was an experiment for me. I didn't know whether it would work, right? I certainly didn't know whether it would like dramatically improve the output that I was delivering, as well as ideation and creativity and design and so on and so forth, right? I didn't think that was going to be the case. And then as the tools progressed and they've added in more features, I've suddenly gone, oh my God, look at like design now with this, right?
Exactly.
Look at web page mock-ups. Look at, hey, look, what if we had this? Can we try this, right? By creating like this independent knowledge store of the AI that is iterative and learning, whether that's at a platform enterprise level with multiple different use cases, or whether it's at your own level, really helps mechanize that human intelligence to the AI. So the AI is able to take advantage of all of your subject matter experts within the workflow, their understanding of this thing, and then the knowledge that they can go and find and source themselves with access to the web or with MCP connectors and things like that. Combining those two into one system is really powerful. And yes, it does actually help lower costs, right? It does actually help with predictability. Is there work to get there? Yeah, but actually I asked AI to then, okay, I've got it for Hinal, but could I give it to the rest of my team? And so it's now just created an installer with a 10-page like PowerPoint to say, follow these steps, right? And can democratize the access to this setup to anyone within the team.
And I like Obsidian actually can mimic how we write and reply. So sometimes it replies for my Slacks, and it is pretty like the other person cannot tell that it's me or is it through Obsidian.
It's more
So I
you
like
than
it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's what's funny is it will if I just prompt it and say, hey, could you give me I've got this idea for this blog, and I put in a couple 400 words or whatever, and could you flesh this out and could you do this? It will come back to me and it will have written it in the standard LLM sometimes, and I say, hey, could you just go and look at my previous writing and come back with my voice?
It is
and
pretty
then
good.
It does, and I'm always like really interested in how it attempts at humanizing. There's still obviously all the things you need to do, but I'd imagine, for teams responses where the response is short as well, so there's less drift, it would be pretty awesome. I
have to say, like, I feel like that would be hard for me to do, because the other day in an email, I definitely used the word snickerdoodle. And I use the words schmoopsy poo. And whenever I email our CEO, I put hearts in it, because I put hearts in all of my emails everywhere. So like I'd love to I'd love to see what kind of words it throws in there.
It'll catch up.
It
will catch up. It's pretty good.
It'll do it.
It'll start using those emojis. It might use a cricket club instead of a heart for one of them, but it definitely uses an emoji.
Cricket club. Phil's in England right now. It's the first time I've ever heard cricket on any of the GTM calls I've been on.
Diversity. We talked about it at the top of the hour, right?
It's good I joined the podcast today. So
Parvinder, I was going to say, you're our guest. You're the man of the hour. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're working on, what you're seeing in the AI industry?
A lot of changes, but let me run down some of the recent ones, which actually makes sense through the entire podcast. Security as a paramount. So now every frontier models on AWS platforms, again, because we believe that when you're creating a workflow, it should be model agnostic when you deliver it, because one delivery could be one model, the other could be another. So you pick whatever model you have to run on the platform. We have a pretty robust service, Amazon Agent Core, which I'm talking to Phil and team. Agent Core specifically, so everyone's building agents. The problem, how you build them and run them at scale. So with Agent Core and Agent Core Harness, there are only a couple of API calls, one JSON file where you can run it. The guardrails and the gateway, it hits in all the security protocols, whatever you have, even the memory compaction, because again, going to a point, we should be building more solution, not making it more expensive. So if it has to be done right, then memory, again, for all the workflows for agent, it goes back and checks. So that compaction happens. And it also gives network isolation. So that's a pretty new AWS service I'm pretty excited about. And a lot of partners or ISVs have started building on it. Managed knowledge bases. Again, you don't need a PhD for that RAG. That's another robust service. You could have millions of docs. Now that managed knowledge base pretty much helps it. S3 vector. So Phil, I'm not saying Progress not doing it. I'm saying with Progress and AWS, we can do more on the S3 vectors. Again, it makes it cheaper because again, ROI is something. So last year was all year of POCs. This year, if there is an adoption, ROI has to come in the discussion. So that's where the discussion and the points going in. S3 vectors coming out, or it's out, it's GA. We also have our own IDE version as compared to Cursor and Cloud Code. Kiro, the underlying is that it uses Claude, so IDE using for code, tying it back. So previously we used to have SDLC, the software development lifecycle. Now with Kiro, it's easy for AI DLC because now the prompt is where most of the developers are going in. So that AI DLC is also baked in. These are some of the things pretty exciting. I would love any of the users to go ahead and try it. Security is paramount, scalability, security, how you run it. Again, not to make it more expensive, but secured and then ROI driven out of everything.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see the work that Parvinder's been doing with the team. And we're interested to see where we can kind of take that integration, especially with the harness stuff. That S3 vectors also looks interesting as well. But the harness stuff, essentially, model access does not equal model parity, right? True. So if you haven't got an effective harness around the model, how you orchestrate the use of models, as we talked about, underneath maybe an orchestrator model with things like that, and you haven't then got all of the pre-prompts, post-prompts, orchestration prompts to orchestrate for sub-agent tasking and stuff like that. If you haven't got that built in a harness around the LLM, then you're not going to get the same results that you would get using an LLM provider out of the box, because all of that is happening on their end, right?
Exactly.
And I think it's really interesting you're kind of democratizing that access, making it so easy for developers to create those harnesses.
And I'll take it back again, that this all incident. So if an agent saying, I want to delete that file, again, that harness, it will be, let me go and check, can you? So that is a pretty robust thing. That's where we're pointing in. Build it securely so that you can scale it securely.
Yeah. And I call it making AI boring, right?
It's actually a good thing, which is a good thing.
That's it, right? And my boss says, you need to stop saying that. You need to say making AI. What is it? Boring is transformational. Say that. Say that instead. I'm like, nah, that's more fun. But it's true though that one that kind of gets people to come and have a talk to us, which literally it did AI4, right? We had people stopping and going, I get that, or why do you want to make it boring? Or I don't think that. And then you have the discussion with them. So it's great for breaking ice. But it's really important, right? Because all of these things going on in the background, that's not the flashy application that you're building. That's not the thing that millions of people are going to see on their screen when they use your application at scale. but it's so important to get that right all the way through the technology stack, right? So from your infrastructure management software, from your data and information layer and software controls that you put in there, and as well as like the digital experience layer, right? So that whole stack has to have, if it's using AI, which we can see that coming through the whole stack, right? And so if you're using that, you have to build those deterministic guardrails. That thing that stops necessarily doesn't stop, but that person goes, well, why can't I just deploy this now? It's like, well, wait a minute, we're just going to put these things in place so that you don't get told off by your boss. Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you do that. That's cool, right? But again, it's done by the subject matter experts in their field. It's that human intelligence that puts that lens over it and says, hey, if I was to do this, I couldn't do that. So you AI can't do that either, right? I liken it to like, if you go and employ someone, you don't immediately go, hey, here's the keys to the kingdom. Go and try every tool and imaginable and just kind of wreck the place, right? You say, here's our policies, and you sign to say you understand them, right? Here's our training, here's our product training, here's our systems training, and so on and so forth. And you're doing that with AI, or you should be, because if you're not employing one person to do it. You're actually employing 10,000 people that are capable of absolutely destroying your business if you don't. And so that's why it's so important to have these, like I say, the harness tools and things like that that go around the AI to make it so that ultimately you get scaled out, deterministic, mechanistic systems that can really grow the ambition of your organization, can offer new products and services you weren't able to offer before, or deliver your products and services at a much lower cost rate to your business, right? And I think that's going to be important. And for making AI good, right? I go back to that event. Without controls over AI, the AI is going to do the thing you ask it to do, but maybe in unexpected ways, right? Because its reward-based training says, hey, you're going to complete this task. And that isn't always aligned with what we want as legal, legislative, regulated, standards-based, or simply good outcomes. And so that's why it's so important to have these things. It's no good like kind of govern it with hope, right? Kind of, I hope it does the right thing. Oh, well, just press the button then, my friend. Yeah, that's fine, right? You need to govern it. You need to make it accountable. You need to make it secure, and then you can make that scalable, and really drive innovation across your business.
All right, so we only have a few minutes left. So it's time for our per call thing where we start talking about what's cool going on with AI. And Phil really looks like he wants to go first, but you got to keep it short, Phil. We only have a few minutes left.
It's fine. Look, I'm just going to take a picture of you with the new AI sunglasses that I got the other day. But these are sunglasses, but it's not very bright. So all I have to do is just click a button here, and it takes a picture if it's ever going to turn on. Oh, it is turning on. Okay, fine. It comes on and it speaks to me. You can't hear it. I promise this is real and I'm not imagining this, right? There is actual audio in the background, right? But then I just click a button and job done. Now, why am I excited about this? Not because I could surreptitiously take pictures of people, which you can't, by the way. It's harder to take a photo surreptitiously with these things than it is with my mobile phone. Why am I excited about it personally? Because I'm terrible at taking pictures, remembering to take pictures. My daughters are like, oh, we had a great day out. And I look and I've got like 3 pictures from like 9 a.m. as we're going out the door, but nothing right throughout the day, right? So these will definitely help me. They definitely help me at AI4 take pictures and short recordings and stuff like that. Yes, there are privacy concerns, but your mobile phone's been doing exactly the same thing as these glasses are capable of doing and more for decades. So I'm not too worried about that. As I said to somebody the other day, we should legislate with these tools bad actors, not the tool itself, right? Because a hammer is a hammer until it's a weapon. And that only happens when someone, as a bad actor, uses it as such. And so it's the same thing, I think, with these tools. Yes, they need legislating, but it's not the tool itself. You should be legislating for the bad actors. So that's just my opinion. I'm sure there's lots of opinions on this subject from other people, but yeah, that's what I've been doing. Parvinder, what have you been up to?
So internally, we have a lot of tools. Like we have Slack, we have Outlook, and I also have internal documentation. And then I have on back-to-back calls with a lot of ISPs. So, and there was a competition internally. So I built an agent with an Amazon Quick. So Amazon Quick is our AI-powered companion, like that connects our Slack and MCPs, and it's on my desktop and can research and draft and automate a lot of things. So connect my Slack to Amazon Quick. So all the MCPs are there. Everything it can do a research and prep me for the calls. And the beauty of it is I just need my laptop open and enable, and even outside from anywhere, I just send a message like I need to prep for this call if I'm out. So it goes to Amazon Quick, it uses all the MCPs and sends me back a Slack message that this is the prep, this is the call, this is what you need. So it's up and running, and it has made my life so easy that even if I'm not saying that I should work 24/7, but it's smarter way that, okay, I need something by the start of the day, I just send it while on my sofa, and then I'm ready for it.
Nice. You aren't sat on your sofa now,
That's
are you?
amazing.
I'm sorry?
So you're not sat on your sofa now.
No.
Hinal,
Hinal.
what about you?
I have two actually. I have one for personal and one for professional. So I've been talking about developing a lot of websites and PowerPoint presentations and all of that. And obviously I've tried various different tools, but as Phil mentioned in the beginning of the call, sometimes these tools will get the branding, the font, the color all weird or wrong. And it's not the perfect outcome, as we know, but it's not as close as I would want it to be. So I recently tried with Claude Design, and I inputted all my branding, my colors, my font guidelines, all of it. And it created a presentation, a 10-slide presentation for me within, I would say, 10 minutes. And it took all the information that I gave it a paragraph or so of what I wanted to outline, said in there, and then all the fonts, like I said, all the brand guidelines. And it created a mimic of what I would have created with our template and everything within 10 minutes, which is great because you're being told, obviously, to create short deliverables or presentations in a short time frame. And these are great ways to expedite that whole process. I did have to do a quick check over to see how big the fonts were, where they're placed and all, but I would say it was 95% there, which has not, I haven't gotten from any other tool that I've used. And I've tried independent tools. I've tried chat. I've tried, Claude Cowork by itself too, and it hadn't gotten me there. So I am very excited about that. So if anyone wants to try Claude Design, go for it. I love it. And then personal life, I know it's the time for vacations in summer right now. So I have actually used chat to plan out my entire 2-week vacation, and not only just recommendations and all that, but I've inserted, I honestly only gave it my time of arrivals and hotel locations, and it built my entire itinerary. And it did it within walking location and distance, which was nice because then I'm not going from point A to point Z on a map. It did it all cleverly, and it also gave me reservation timings and links. I wanted to agentically go and make the reservations for me. I haven't tried that out yet, but I will be trying that out and letting you know if it will do that for me, because that would be a time saver. But that worked really well too. It saved me so much research time, so much time to gather and put it in correct places and days and all that. So both of those have worked like a lifesaver for me. I would definitely recommend trying both of those out.
If you've tried that, wherever you're going for vacation, if you have Claude Code on or Claude on your phone, just whichever restaurant you go, put the menu, like, take a picture and like what's the best, and it actually stars the internet. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. At the tip of your fingers. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
AI-powered holiday assistant. Love it.
So me being a Luddite and being slow to the game, you guys have probably done this a million times already, but I had to give an executive presentation, and I put something together and I was like, it seems a little long. It seems like I'm being a bit repetitive. So like, me being brave, I uploaded it to ChatGPT and I said, this is what I'm trying to do. Can you just give me some feedback? It read me for filth. It was like, this is terrible. You've emphasized the wrong thing. Like, you keep hammering on this point, but I literally don't care. Like, it said, like, no one cares about this. It used those words. And for me, the next level up, this was the stretch for me, was I actually said, can you create me a presentation based on your recommended feedback? And it was like, here you go. And I was like, that would have taken me 20 hours to try and digest and get my ego in place and everything like that.
Nichol, try design next time, Claude Design. So if you just want to use our template, it just converts it. So you don't have to do anything after that.
Yep. See, this is where I was saying, what you used to hate, now what it is. So that adoption is pretty fast then.
Yeah.
All right. And so on that note, thank you everybody who joined us on our live stream today. Thank you, Parvinder, for being our wonderful guest. And we will see you on our next Friday AI with Phil, which should be the first Friday of next month. So see you soon. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
Parvinder.
Thanks, Parvinder.